the rising PTA fees that we have discovered in so many schools. Our team went on the field to try to see whether truly infrastructure are being built or whether more teachers have been recruited as far as the COVID-19 challenge is concerned, to see why the PTA fees have risen in our schools. And in this edition of Crossview, we shall be talking elaborately on it. Luckily enough, we have educationists, applied positive psychologists, and other men that have rocked the society as far as education is concerned. Without any transition, I want to start with you, Dr. Busi Enes, to talk about what is the origin of parent-teacher association fees in our secondary and primary schools.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I want to really say that I'm really disappointed with what is happening in many schools now in the Northwest and Southwest and even the Francophone areas, where Parent-Teachers Association now is an economy of benefit, Mr. Jomo Siri, where parents are living in difficulties and this kind of exploitation from principals and the PTA, from poor parents that we have to denounce here, and even give our numbers to parents out there to call this TV house out. We are going to work as the CONAC of parents in Cameroon to see that there's justice in our schools, to see that the level of corruption, because this is all about corruption in our school, where there's exploitation, where children go to pay fees, even go to look for admission. You see, they even ask additional money. That is even more than the school fees, and the infrastructure is not there. And you even go to some schools in Francophone areas and other areas in the Northwest and South, they'll even ask you to clean a bench before you come to school. So all this gross exploitation, it is not the quality assurance, it is not the kind of education that we want to bring for our children for long-term education. As the Sustainable Development Goal is saying, as UNESCO is there to protect the education of our primary school children, secondary school children, just to name a few. I want to say that we have to denounce this exploitation of parents by the PTA. And when you look at the PTA of today, it works in collaboration with bosses and principals. And we must denounce the exploitation of parents through this parent-teacher association gatherings. That is now a gathering for exploitation of parents who do not even have their own. And we are saying that we in this TV house, we have to be the CONAC of these parents now to denounce all these ills. Because we are first of all in a difficult period of the Anglophone crisis and the dreadful COVID-19, that things are difficult and most parents are even jobless in the Northwest and Southwest. And this continual exploitation, and the Cameroon government is encouraging children to go to school, and I think that it is a responsibility of the government to monitor, to see that CONAC also involved into the monitoring of the day-to-day activities of schools, to see that this exploitation, those who are exploiting students, they should be taken, they should be accountable, right, so that they can even be sent. This is high time we have to sanction. As my friend Solomon said, everything must not be from top to bottom. We must start from bottom to top to address all these issues of societal ills in our country.
Right. After you, Sir Ate Solomon, you are somebody who is very versed with the SDGs. And we are here talking about SDG number 4, equal opportunities for education for all. And Cameroon, when the presidential decree of 2000 6th of April 2009, when the president was signing for Parent-Teacher Association, it was because he earnestly talked about free education for all and discovered that it was heavy on the states, and so was looking for a palliable that parent could support the educational family. But in 2014, because a lot of embezzlement has stepped in, the Minister of Secondary Education then reinforced it with a ministerial decree, and it became an obligation. Since then, we have gradually moved from little, 15,000, 10,000. Today, a school like Lycée Moriko is between 40, 50,000 and 60,000. Come to think of a father that have 6 children in school. When you multiply that, plus the school fees, plus the books you have, that is too much for a parent. Can we think an alternative to help the parent in this COVID-19 challenge period?
That is the reason why before the SDGs, you had the MDGs.
Okay.
And the target for the MDGs was poorly. If you look at the indicators never met. The indicators show that the objectives were not met. And that is why the United Nations actually tend to partner with the civil society instead of partnering with governments around the world to achieve the SDGs. True. Because leaving into the hands of government has been a total mess. We have this impression that governments around the world are almost behaving the same. There are very few governments that actually care about the people, but the civil society has come up in different societies now to help government achieve their objectives by working in close collaboration with the population. And I think that it is time for the civil society in Cameroon to really have a deep look into the education system, because
who manages the funds?
That you ask me, I will not answer you.
It's alleged that the parent elect a president,
yes,
that takes care of the funding.
Yes.
But recent echoes has been saying that the principal has equally a decisive word on that fund.
Well, I happen to belong to the Yali network. We're working on an anti-corruption project right now. And the anti-corruption project of the Young African Leaders Initiative targets most schools, and that is one of the reasons why we're targeting schools, because we are looking at corruption at that high state level. But we are forgetting that before corruption gets to that high state level, it starts from the ground, it starts from the grassroots level, and it starts with the schools. We tend to blame a lot the top government officials, but we are forgetting that at the level where a teacher did not enter ENS through a genuine means, that teacher will do everything possible to reimburse the money. Maybe
how will you stop that? Do you have the power to stop that at Yali?
Well, Yali is just simply doing what they can do through sensitization. I think that we
need
to
justify the funding that you guys have. Do you think you can do something about it?
Well, let us do our job.
Okay.
The Yali project tends to create anti-corruption clubs in school.
Okay.
That will work on educating the mind, because it first of all goes, every social problem has to go with the mindset. If we adopt a positive mindset towards fighting corruption, we are going to arrive there. The reason why the Cameroon government is fighting corruption and it has not yet succeeded is not because they don't have the manpower to fight the corruption. It is because they are using the wrong approach. And for us to get to the rightful approach, we need to start from the grassroots level, start building new minds.
We will be waiting to see the solution of Yali. After you, S.K. Kufo, he endlessly talk about clubs, and when you see the structure of the school, class prefects are supposed to sit and elect the school prefect, who in turn has a decisive voice in the Parents-Teacher Association as a leader in the educational family. Do you think the voice of school prefect is actually heard when the funds of PTA is brought to use?
Never, to the best of my knowledge. One thing you have to understand is that for corruption to be successful, it has a very firm network that it navigates. And this navigation of this network will never want to bring somebody who can be objective.
Okay.
You always want subjective minds.
Okay.
People who can say, yes, sir, you have your own 10,000 francs, you're okay. You didn't work anything for it, so why will you even question when they give you 20,000 francs? Like my learned friend, Dr. Bossi, was talking about the PTA. PTA is not something that is of right.
Okay.
PTA is a form of privilege.
Yes.
We have the origin of PTA when it originated from NA, we call it the Native Authority, which we want to see that because of the shortcomings of government to provide school facilities in every community, the community themselves sees the way to support the government for their own children to learn. And that is why it started by them struggling to donate a classroom, donate a section of school, donate building materials, donate academic materials so that their children can have facility to learn. As advent of modernity is coming and corruption is gaining root, we saw it that it started from...
And ignorance equally is propelling.
Of course. We saw it that it came to 1,500 francs, which was very moderate. That people could pay 1,500 francs and it was moderate for you to support your school. And we want to see that in the early days, when corruption has not had its fabrics in Cameroon like it is today, we used to get our parents going for PTA meeting. They even eat.
Yes.
They eat. They even drink. They have a consensus. They come back home. Even you, like a child, they will give your father your record in school. So when he's coming from PTA meeting, it's not even discipline council that gives you a record. In PTA meeting, they do analysis of children. So when your father comes home, the way he looks at you, you know your record. If your record is straight in school, you'll be comfortable when he's coming.
In terms of your attitude and other.
That's what I'm saying. If your record is not good when he's coming, you have to take a different dimension because. So we saw where Cameroonians want to say the academic milieu has honor, but today we want to say honor is missing in the academic milieu. And if those who have to impute values and morality into the minds of students, they themselves are morally bankrupt, morally decay, morally decadence is eating them up, we start looking the kind of society we are having today.
They have a justification to it that COVID-19 has
has
forced them to recruit more teachers, and so they are using the funds to pay the teachers.
The one thing you have to know is that, like I say, it's a privilege and not a right. And when you're taking privilege, you don't break the back of the person you are leaning to benefit from.
Beautiful.
So another aspect we are saying, there is no need for the rising of that because the government itself have subsidized education in Cameroon. Okay. We don't pay for education in Cameroon. Yeah. We want to thank the president for doing that. That he has made any person who is willing to learn should learn. But now we are talking
is that in slogan or in practice?
I am saying this that.
And you are mobilizing the whole set to tell you thank you. Is that in slogan or?
I am saying that the population should tell the president thank you.
Ought to.
They have to tell the president first because it is something that has been instilled. It doesn't mean that when bad people disfigure good things, doesn't mean the giver of it give a bad thing. If I give you something and you take it home and your children destroy it.
We know a political slogan.
Don't lure me away, Mr. Njomo. So what I am saying is that the president must be appreciated for that. To say that education in Cameroon has to be subsidized. You just need to have the will to go. But now we see bottleneck persons, people who have lost their own honor, and are struggling to pass dishonor to Cameroonians. They start bringing limitations for people to go to school. Because we want to ask, what is this?
Are you attacking principals?
I am attacking the whole principals, the setup, starting from the ministers to the principal and starting all with the inspectors of basic and secondary education. Because when a rule is being passed, they are the people to effect that. They are the people to do their job, but they don't do their job, which it may be presumably that if you are eating out of the spoil, you can't raise your voice. Because when you raise your voice, you'll be pointed out. If the boss also is eating, then the subordinate can do anything they want to do. Because when they are called for questioning, they will refer the boss as a weakness. And when he comes for questioning, so they can't allow that sector because if the inspectors are doing their job, we want to say that a school like Lycée, which one of the co-panelists just mentioned, is a school that has a reputation. It has stayed long in Cameroon. It is known widely. If the inspectors were doing their job, they will check records and they will have things being done. And we want to say that there are many ways to go about findings without you necessarily going to the school. Because these parents pay these fees, it is not like it is a clando aspect that you give money, they don't give you receipt. They give receipt for PTA. Okay. So if you did, they have to pick within few parents and sample them to pick those receipts for PTA, and you come back to your text. Is this what the text stipulates for PTA? We haven't seen that going. We haven't seen the education sector coming up to cry foul or saying that it's going to be penalized. That if you can see principal doing this, you're going to penalize. You get even schools, you go, you want to register children, maybe they'll tell you that you give 40,000 for PTA before the school. You don't have it. The next thing the principal will tell you that the school is full. And the school is full. When has the inspector ever gone to that school? We have school that has A, B, C, D, E. But they will tell you the school is full. How can you say there is no arena for a Cameroonian to learn?
And they are reserving space for those who can pay
the money. But I want to say that if the inspectors and those who have been put in position to check on the schools were doing their job, for example, I want to say that Cameroon has very applaudable policies that have been in place. But I want to say that the aging people with their big stomachs can't follow this project.
We cannot take responsibility of that.
I take responsibility for that. Okay. I am saying that they are eating too much that they can't walk. They are too comfortable and too sitting that they are heavy where they are sitting, and age factor is one of the pressing issues. That is something that is factual. One thing that kills them is age factor, which is an issue, and they have accumulated much in the detriment of the common man, which means nothing. Okay. They can send their children in any school that asks for 300,000 francs. A peasant that doesn't earn a salary, struggle to sell the farm product before can send the children to school. They are the one crying. But I want to say that these people were being put there because they are being paid with taxpayers' money, and they should deliver on behalf of the population and behalf of the nation. So they should wake up from slumber. They should put, if they think that they are tired from those offices, they should resign. Another aspect, we want to see the education sector coming to criminalize anything that goes against the normal text that is being set.
And that was the next part of my question to you, Dr. Busi Ernest. I want to bring you in. How can the school prefect, the class prefect, denounce the fact that they are not having social facilities that the PTA has provided for themselves? Take, for example, canteen. Most of our schools don't have canteen. We are talking amid COVID-19. They are supposed to have wash kit board, have enough teachers to teach them. They don't have them, but they cannot complain.
Mr. Moderator, you understand that this is what we call the paradigm shift. Things have changed.
Okay.
When you see the children in schools today, they are not like adults like us who went to secondary schools. And we could bring strike in our school when we saw things that were not good. You see the children, they're too tender. They're too tender. But we need to treat them with some honor.
Apology for
no, I'm saying that these children
laxity?
Are tender, and the high level of corruption has even brought some kind of fear where some of these children cannot even think out of the box. That's the truth. Some of these children, the largest that we used to have with our school clubs is not still there. Go to some schools, you will not even see a particular day on clubs. We used to have all those days on clubs. A particular day on clubs where all the clubs come out. They partake, they participate. You see some kind of level of critical thinking. But I want to say that, like Sir Kufo was talking, there's an issue of administrative supervision that's lacking. Okay. Because when you look at schools, especially the primary school, at the center level, there's the ministry, there's the regional delegate, there are pedagogic inspectors, and so on. There are animator inspectors. There are divisional inspectors and divisional delegates and inspectors. There are subdivisional delegates and inspectors. But we have not seen these people going to the school to see what is really happening in our school so that we should have a kind of educational accountability.
Doctor, before the crisis they used to go, they have brought now...
they used to go?
A claim that the crisis...
Please, let's be honest. They used to go. They might be going, but enough is not being done.
I think the problem is with their report. When they do the report, nothing is being done.
What we are saying is that parents are complaining that the amount that they pay for PTA meetings, PTA fees, and also looking for admission, because the issue of looking for admission also, they are paying huge sum of money to even look for admission. And when you go to some schools, in some classes, normally government text says that not more than 60 students a class.
This year it was brought to 50.
No, it was brought to 50 this year. But you go to some schools, Mr. Moderator, you still see a class size that more than that. And we ask ourselves, where does that additional money go to? Where does the extra money that parents give goes to? So we have to put the principals and the parent-teacher association into book, and the treasury of the treasurers of the schools. They have to be accountable. They have to know that we are living in a dreadful period, a difficult period, and they have to ensure that parents send their children to school without any stress. And we have to look at the issue of minimum package. Many a times the minimum package do not reach these schools on time to cater for the didactic materials and all the well-being of their schools. So we'll be calling on government to always send minimum packages to this school and their subventions, so that they can cater for their schools on time. Because many a times before the school begins, you will see that some schools even lack didactic materials, teachers going to class without, in these secondary schools and these primary schools. So their subvention, it doesn't give them the right to add the PTA funds, because that's exploitation. Because many a times even, there's PTA money being given to these schools. But go to the school and see whether you see benches or you see didactic materials. You go to a school, you see empty bare class without dilapidated classrooms, without any floor where children are even sitting on the floor to learn. Go to the northern part of Cameroon, as you are even crying with the northwest. Go to the north. I will go to Ndongo primary school. GS Ndongo is a carabot. Where you even stand outside and you see the classroom, it's muddy, it's dirty, and so on. We need quality assurance. Even if we are saying that President Paul, we have to thank President Paul Biya that education let me answer. Education in Cameroon to an extent is free. I say that yes, it is free, but we need to shape our educational system. Why do I say so? Our educational system is certificate-based, whereby people have certificate at the end of the day, they are not employed.
And so we should thank Mr. Bia for that.
I mean, I've said education is free. We should thank President Bia for that. But the other thing I want to say here is that we need to work and adapt and reshape our educational system. Why do I say so? Even if this PTA money were given and they are used for the benefit of the children and the benefit of the school, it would have been better. But they collect money and we are not seeing any change, any reform in their schools. We are talking of COVID-19 kits. Go to some of these schools whether you will see a single COVID-19 kit. Go to some of these schools whether you even see a bucket. Go to some of these schools whether you even see water.
They have their claim. It does not. They will say
so I want to say that, I want to end by saying that looking at education amidst COVID-19, we need to tailor our educational system to be more transformative, to be more reflective, to be more skill building, so that children can gain particular skills and competencies. I'm telling you that a child will leave primary school in Cameroon, go to secondary school, and that child will do carpentry. That child cannot even fix a kitchen chair. We have to be very careful in this country. A child will leave the university and do electrical engineering, and the child cannot change a lamp holder, and the child is even afraid to go to the meter and check the meter, and the child cannot even do meter readings. There are some. I've stayed with people who have done all those things. So we are saying that even if we are talking of the PTA issues, we need to readdress our educational system, bring new reforms that can make our educational system like that of Singapore, China, Japan, and other places through hands-on activities, so that even a primary child, a primary school child can learn through apprenticeship. Thank you.
After you, Dr. Busi, Ate Solomon, I want to ask you now, what is the way forward? Our university is more expensive. It's cheaper than secondary schools. Will you go with that allegation?
Well, I think corruption is everywhere. Even in the university, there are corrupt practices that are still going on.
But not on school fees.
Yeah, but not on school fees. At the end of the day, what we need an overhaul of the system. Yeah. Everything in this country seems to be going wrong, and so for us to come out of this,
and you guys say we should thank Mr. Bia for that.
Well, I'm not a proponent of people who say we should thank President Bia, even though on a different platform I actually made mention of the fact that Cameroon has a good platform where we can leverage and be a wonderful academic system. But I wouldn't thank Mr. Paul Bia because it's his duty as the head of state to do that. I don't need to thank him for what he's paid for. Indeed. Yeah, that's what he's being paid for. And for us to say education in Cameroon is free, first of all, it's an overstatement because education in Cameroon seemingly is free, but it's not free. I pay school fees in the University of where I'm the University of. I pay 50,000. That's money. If it's
because of PTA.
Yeah, exactly. Even in the university, there are students who have not been able to pay 50,000. There are students, there are parents in this country who are unable to pay. When we're talking about something that is free, we should be able to look at the purchasing power of the population.
We're living on less than $1.
Exactly. We're living on less than $1 per day to see if they can afford to send children to these schools, which we say that are seemingly free. Yeah, let us accept the fact that public schools are. Yeah,
we are talking about.
Yeah, public schools are free.
I don't want to hurt you, but you please permit messages that keep coming. We have to take a number of them before we ride on, please. Good afternoon, good evening to you in the studio. This message coming from Amadou One in Boya. Talking of exploring and exploiting parents, teachers now force students, especially in private schools, to buy their textbooks and the workbooks. A student will have 2 different textbooks of this subject. A teacher will still insist that the student should buy his or her own textbook. I think this practice is not right. Parents will not be struggling to pay school fees and pay school fees and textbooks at the same time. What is the teacher textbook which is not in the other 2? Well, before we take the second message, this viewer is trying to explain that teachers have become authors. They write their books plus the manual book, and they force students to buy.
Exactly. That's a phenomenon that we have to decry when we talk about corruption in the school system. Okay. Some of these books that the teachers force on the students to buy are not even in the curriculum. They are not even in the, how do they call it, in the book list system. And they come and force them. Simply because they have something that seemingly ties with the curriculum of the year. They feel like they can do something like their workbook, and then they force it on the students to buy. And this is an aspect where we need to come out with some kind of regulations on what it takes for a teacher to sell a book and how much should it cost. Because some of these students, even when they manage to come to school, they are still being forced to buy those things. They are still being forced to go and bring money for this. They are being forced to go and bring money for that, money for exam and everything. At the end of the day, everybody is just coming there to carry out their exploitation, to do whatever they have to do. But again, it falls on the responsibility of the man up there, because there is a careless system. Everybody in the system seems like... well, the president is a man up there.
Let's take the second message. That's a good evening to you in the studio. I'm Florence, writing from Moliko. I am actually a teacher, but I would not like to go further to unveil my personality. I just want to say there are some principals that take up to 20% of PTA funds, and any president of PTA who is not ready to comply with the principal will do everything to sack the PTA president. SK Kufo, you are still live. I want to ask you, does the principal have the power to sack a PTA president?
The principal does not have the power. But this is what happens in the corruption network. Okay. You see, most schools nowadays, they are apparently that some of themselves are teachers in some certain schools. And before the PTA meeting even have to converge, they have already decided those who are going to be ESCOs.
But 20% is
I want to tell you, there is something you permit me. What I'm saying is that before PTA meeting is even converged, people who are dedicated to be ESCOs are already made. You see, like,
is it vote by list or
no?
It is individual votes.
Every school has a way they go through their vote. But what we are saying that the parents gather to vote. But now we have parents that they themselves are reluctant to get into political activities, irrespective of the scenario where they find themselves into. Now we have the kind of parents that don't even take interest in what happened to their children in school. Some don't even go for PTA meeting. So when they convene church meeting, they are not even participant of it. So you see, PTA meeting at times, if you want to take it up, it becomes a setup of friendship, which those who make up the ESCOs are friends. For example, if you're a principal in the school and my child is in that school, before PTA meeting, I'll be notified. Dr. Busu will be notified. Sir Ate will be notified. The other person will be notified. So if you understand, 50 parents will come. In that 50 parents, 30 of those parents are friends to the principal and their children is in that school. So automatically in election, I will become the president. And when I become the president, there are rules and statutes we have already put to operate over. Which if I fail to operate, the principal stands as the mediator, because the principal is the one who gives time when meetings should be scheduled and converge. So if you are not informed officially by the principal, you cannot even find yourself within such meeting. If you are not informed by the principal, an ESCO meeting can go without you even knowing. So I want to say that there's also school politics when it comes into PTA. There's also the aspect of impeaching presidents. Because there are times when they gather their maneuver and the meeting is being held without you being notified as a president, and you want to hear the quorum was being formed without you. And so there is also politics going within it. That's why I want to say that the PTA, the Parents Teacher Association, should also become a subject of investigation. That's why you let me say that the academic milieu, the educational milieu itself, to restore honor, investigation must be made to sort out the bad seat and make sure that all good days come again to play.
Are you doing the assignment to the Yearly Network that are bringing anti-corruption? Would they have the power to reinforce?
Let me tell you something. I am sorry, I mean not disrespect, Mr. Ati, but the Yearly Network is as a useless network to me as any other thing.
That's an exaggeration. What's the extent of those kind of...
There's no problem. You have the right to say yourself.
I don't even have a problem with that.
What I want to say is that there is no reason raising dust when you can't calm me.
But who should take responsibility?
I'm coming. Okay. When you clear me away from my ignorance, you should give me directives. Okay. But now we are talking about new colonial network implanted in Africa. Yali is a new colonial network.
There's something that the viewers said that we must take into consideration. There's one thing that the viewers say we must take into consideration.
Yes, doctor.
That the principal takes about 20% of the money, some principles. And those are things that we must denounce here. We must say it here. And I think that the names of the school should be told. Okay. It's high time. We want to bring moral rectitude in our school system in Cameroon.
Empowering the students who are leaders are supposed to supervise.
The truth is that we must start at the microsystem. I have said that. I stand here to say that as a psychologist, as an educationist, what I always say is we must build values. We must bring in counseling in our primary school. I feel that if we bring counselors in our primary school, Mr. Njomo Siri, these counselors will be able to build our children with certain values and shape them through career building.
Dr. Busi, they are
Permit me.
counselors.
We don't have counselors in primary school. So I want to start at the foundation. Primary education is the foundation. When
Yes,
permit me, please. Kindergarten is part of primary school. They are the same. They are the same. They are basic education. What I'm saying is that, Mr. Moderator, if we are honest, we want to bring values in our school system, we must start shaping the base. If the foundation is weak, what about tertiary education?
What will be the role of a counselor in primary school, doctor?
The truth is that a counselor is there to guide. A counselor is there as a guide.
There is no emotional issue in primary school.
There is emotion. Even when a child is born, the child has emotion. Okay. I'm a psychologist. You can't tell me that. Okay. When the child is born, the child cries. It's emotion. You can't deny that. Children have emotions, especially those at the kindergarten. And we have seen children in the kindergarten whereby they take their friends' things and eat. And they are selfish. They eat without sharing. So counselors can mediate. Counselors can build children with certain values and positive societal norms. So that when they transit to secondary school, they have those values. To higher education, they have those values. I want to end by saying...
answering you directly that is white elephant. How do you explain that in most schools where even complete teachers are not present for all the classes, you expect that we should have counselors for primary school, doctor?
What we are saying here is that whether we like it or not, if we want to shape our educational system, it starts from the foundation, the base. We need counselors in primary schools. Go to secondary school, you see a school of about 1,000 students. Just for 3 counselors. Go to Balingwa Grammar School, Moliko, whether they have up to 20 counselors.
But the universities, they want them picking doctors and putting there.
Permit me, Lancel, is the system. We need to build our educational system to have these values and integrity and this quality assurance we are saying for transformative learning to take place. Go to Balingwa Grammar School. There are how many students there? There are more than 3,000 students there. For about 20 counselors, one counselor should be able to address about 50 students. But now in such magnitude, there are children that finish in Balingwa Grammar School, Moliko, for a year without ever seeing a counselor.
Of course, because
there are children who finish in the university. Every child has emotional issue. The issue is that the few counselors can't meet the needs of the students. Go to the university. Go to the faculty. One counselor cannot meet up the needs of 1,000 people. It's difficult.
What's the ratio?
The ratio, I've said here that 1 is to about at least 100. You can take care of that. Or 1 is to 200. Go to even the university, counselors are still limited. I want to say that.
Are you looking food for your table, doctor? You are a
psychologist. Pardon me. Pardon me. If we want to build, we'll start from the base. Go to the Western world. I'm not joking. Psychology and counseling is pain. It's shaping the life of people. Even Donald Trump that is in pain now, his psychologists are beside him talking to him now.
We need, doctor, I'll be back to you. We need to shape the base. We are moving out of this topic. What is the way forward?
The way forward is, I want to correct SK Kubo, Barrister SK. The Yali network is a very important and very influential network in Africa.
You have the opportunity to prove it tonight.
It's bringing a positive change across Africa. We may say it's a new colonial network, but The truth is that we've had neo-colonialism that has been more devastating to Africa, and today if we have a new breed of young leaders, even if they're trained by our US partners, I do not think that...
I promise there will be a topic on that. Joe Biden will definitely give you some money to
well,
yes.
Now I'm coming back to our solution. Yeah. Well, the achievements of the Yali network are there. I'm not here on behalf of... Yeah, I'm not here on behalf of Yali. Yes. What is the way forward? The way forward is that we need to build moral rectitude in the minds of our students.
How do we do that?
Amongst our school system, by re-educating our school system about the issues of corruption, because when we start building it from the base, when we educate the children, the children will go back to their homes and educate their parents.
Stem from poverty. How do we eradicate poverty just by...
It doesn't stem from poverty. It starts from the mind, and so when you start educating the mind, you're beginning to reduce corruption. When you start educating students in school, these students will take the messages back to their parents, and they will educate their parents in their house, and it will be difficult for them to come and give bribe to the principals. And from there, the principals will start understanding that there is a reawakening system that is coming up, and they are going to adjust. They are not just going to stop taking money from parents, but even if they succeed in taking money, there will be accountability. Because one aspect that we fail to talk about is accountability, that they take this money and they are unable to account for. This PTA money, it can help even in building infrastructure. I think that's one of the reasons why the PTA was installed. Yeah, but it's difficult for you to go down and trace an infrastructure that was built by the PTA. And so we equally need to make these students be whistleblowers in their school.
Yes.
There's an initiative my friend is running. It's called Follow the Money.
They will not do publicity.
It's not a business. It's not a for-profit making initiative. It's a not-for-profit making initiative, and it's good for communities. It's called Follow the Money, where they actually trace leaders of the country on the projects that they are supposed to carry out, and let them give an account. I think that system can be applied in our schools, where we equip our young students. They become whistleblowers. We keep them in the awareness of the projects that are supposed to be carried out by the money raised through PTA. And when those projects are not carried out, we'll begin to call on these students to blow out the whistle and ask, where is this money going to? And I think that if we instill an attitude of accountability within the minds of students, there's going to be that sense of reawakening within parents and most especially within school authorities, who are going to wake up and do their job properly.
It's not a thanks so much. SK Kufo, Sase ex-student association just had their new elected president in the person of Ayok. Do you think the public school can emulate from the private school as far as PTA money is concerned?
I want to be much guided when you are making such as a reference.
Well, I'm used as a lay private school. I mean, like a private school, a mission school from the private sector. The management of it, we can see new structures. We can see organized human resource management. We can see good social facilities, amendment that ensure and enhance learning, which is different from those of public schools.
You know that one of the most difficult aspects I used to talk to young lads like myself is that if you are not in a Njangi house, it is difficult for you to say how the Njangi runs. We are talking here about a Roman Catholic school, one of the oldest schools in Cameroon that has stood the test of time. So to make hasty generalization in collective analysis with other schools, we might be chasing the wind.
So we have nothing to learn from it.
Because we want to say that the managerial step of it cannot be traced. You can only best analyze a school of that magnitude if you are in a certain position within the administrative ramifications of the Roman Catholic administrative educational sector.
Do they have PTA at all?
I am not a member there, and none of my child is a member to SASE. But I want to believe that it is something that has been inculcated by many other schools. But to be very candid, if some of us were privileged or knows how a boarding school runs, PTA is one of the listings that is being mentioned in boarding school. You have a lump sum money that is being paid as school fees for 400, 300,000. So parents only convince just to come and listen what the school has to dish out. You actually hardly see them. But now when we want to talk about ex-students, what ex-students are doing, they will be coming up to say that some of those structures, like you say, SASE just have the election, who is not a PTA election, but we were talking about an ex-student election, if I am up to date, if I'm up to date with current news within the country. So it means you'll be derailing me to talk about ex-student contribution to their alma mater, which I don't think it is in line.
It could also be a point to tell us whether the alma mater of other schools could help reinforce the management of PTA funds.
Of course, it is good. You see, you can only give where you see value. If you come through an establishment that has made impact in your life, the best you can do back is to give back to the society. I want to say that those with humanistic values are those who think that life is not just all about them. Life is much about others than they. So that is the ability of sacrifice, that some goes to the extent to sacrifice. There is no harm you going to say thank you for the good things you have done for me. There are some people that still hold their alma mater to be of higher esteem to them. There are some people that their school shaped them better than their society and their parents. So whatever thing they had to do in their life, they look far back that if I wasn't privileged to be in this position at this certain time to have my education at this level with these persons and this, I wouldn't have been what I am today. So it is just an aspect of gratitude that they go and do it. But I want to say that gratitude should not be mixed with money that is made for particular projects. PTA projects are projects that are being positioned to realize within a given year and has a financial budget. So at any given time, that budgeting or that project is not being realized. We are saying here that criminalization should be made so that people within that environment can also face connect. So I want to say corrupt parents who have decided to join corrupt principals in order to carry corrupt activities to defraud other parents. We want to say that they should be called to book, they should be penalized, and punitive measures should be mounted upon them so that such acts they can retract away from carrying such acts, such dubious activities and exploiting other parents and giving the academic milieu a bad name and degrading our academics in the nation. For example, I want to push on to what Dr. Busi was talking. Cameroon want to see education system is free, but want to see that there is no country that is stagnant. We are not saying that Cameroon has a bad or the worst form of education, but we are talking that Cameroon educational system need to be reformed. So we talk here about reformation. And to be very candid, I want to say that from 2008 to present day, the president in all his outing has been making emphasis on vocational training. Biya has been making emphasis on vocational training.
President Biya, you mean?
Yes, President Biya has been making emphasis on vocational training, that it is the core and the building of the nation. I want to say that from 2008 to date that I could understand and analyze the speeches of the president, he has made Cameroonians to know that general education is not what will lead the country to the emergence. But I want to say that vocational education, so parents should retreat.
You are paraphrasing there, please.
You should guide me.
You are paraphrasing when you say that the president of the republic says it's only through vocational education.
I am saying that he has laid emphasis on vocational education, saying that the future of this nation lies on vocational education. So now it is called back on the parents to think that not all their children may end up being lawyers and doctors.
That question could be attacked when he said we should go back to agriculture and buying a laptop for students to go to the university.
Let me be frank with you.
Instead of tractors,
education is a modernized system, and we need to do research on how to improve the economic.
We'll be back to that topic some other day. Dr. Busi, we are moving out of this topic. What's your last word for the viewers?
We are talking of exploitation of parents and budgets and fundings in schools today by principals and PTA presidents, which is a very bad thing for nation building. But I want to say that in my days in schools, especially in secondary school, the Parent-Teacher Association did a lot, especially my alma mater. They did a lot, especially in building bringing in computer labs and laboratories and infrastructures in the school. There was some level of community life and community building where everybody came in to build a school because they were not waiting only on the government. Parents could contribute 1,000 francs for a school of about a population of about 1,000, and at the end of the day you saw the infrastructure, you saw the school buildings well good equipped schools with computer gadgets. But today there's a paradigm shift where everybody's egoistic, where people are thinking about their stomachs. And we must stop this if we want to think about altruism, think about others, not your stomach. So I'll be ending by also saying that our schools also need religious studies. Okay. Because we have put religious studies at the back. And children now feel that when you are transiting from secondary school to university, you don't need religious studies.
What's
even if you pass.
Studies?
We need religious studies for our students to build some level of societal norms that can help them in terms of morality. Because even the Bible says, thou shalt not steal.
Okay.
So there are some values that children can
We
inculcate.
don't have time. We'll definitely take the last topic that we'll talk only once because we have only 5 minutes to go also. Is that of the DTR.